It starts with a whisper, so faint you think it's the wind slipping through the cracks. But then it's closer, a breath against your skin that raises every hair on your neck. The air thickens, and a chill settles deep in your bones. You're standing on a forgotten road, the kind where even shadows refuse to linger. Then you see it, a pale figure emerging from the mist, a woman draped in white, her movements too fluid, too silent, as if reality itself bends around her. Your instinct tells you to run, but your feet won't move. Her gaze finds yours, eyes hollowed by centuries of grief, fury, and something else. Something that claws at your chest. You've heard the stories. A bride abandoned at the altar, a mother driven mad, a lover betrayed. Each tale different, yet all bound by tragedy. She is the White Lady, and where she treads, sorrow follows. Tonight we trace her footsteps across the world, from crumbling castles steeped in blood, to desolate roads where headlights flicker and die. Her legend shifts and twists, never resting. Some call her a warning, others call her a curse. But all who meet her know one thing: she does not forgive, and she does not forget. As we walk this path together, keep your wits about you. She thrives on fear, and if you listen too closely, you might just hear her whisper your name next. Welcome to the stories of the White Lady. The night is heavy in the Brazilian countryside, the air thick with the scent of damp earth and something metallic, something wrong. You're walking a narrow path lined with whispering trees, their branches clawing at the darkened sky. Ahead, a pale figure emerges. She doesn't walk, she glides. Her dress, a tattered relic of another life, flutters without wind, and her skin gleams as if drained of all warmth. They call her the Dama Branca, the White Lady. Local tales paint her as a sorrowful ghost, but as she draws closer, the truth gnaws at your mind. This is no harmless apparition. There is a raw, festering wound beneath the pale exterior, a rage buried under layers of silence. Her eyes, two voids in a ghostly face, seem to search for something, or someone. Every step she takes pulls at your breath, as if the air itself is being stolen second by second. The story goes that she was betrayed, her life taken in a moment of violence. An honor killing, they say, a term that reeks of twisted morality. Perhaps it was a jealous father, a cruel husband, or a lover driven mad. All that remains is her ghost, bound to the site of her pain, reliving it endlessly. And those who see her become part of her nightmare. The villagers whisper of encounters, men found wandering, dazed, unable to speak, their faces pale as the moon. You hear a faint sob carried on the wind. She is closer now, close enough to see the stains on her gown, red that will never wash away. She reaches out, her fingers long and grasping, as if to pull you into her world of endless sorrow. You want to run, to scream, but the weight of her story anchors you in place. She isn't asking for help. She's demanding you bear witness. This is the White Lady of Brazil. And once you've seen her, you will never truly leave her behind. The roar of the Montmorency Falls is deafening, a relentless cascade of water that drowns out all other sounds. But if you listen carefully, you might hear it, the faintest echo of a sob, rising and falling with the mist. The air is frigid, soaked with spray, and clings to your skin like a cold shroud. It's here at the edge of the falls that she appears, the White Lady of Montmorency. Her presence seeps into the stones beneath your feet, chilling the ground and making your breath catch. She was once a young woman, filled with the kind of hope that makes the heart ache. She and her fiancé would meet here, at the crest of the falls, whispering dreams over the thunderous roar. But war shattered those dreams. The man she loved fell to British bullets, leaving her alone with a wedding gown and a heart full of grief. That gown became her shroud. One night, with eyes empty and steps sure, she walked to the edge. The water took her, swallowed her whole. But it never truly let her go. Locals say she returns when the moon is high, her pale form gliding through the mist. Some have seen her standing motionless on the cliff's edge, her gown fluttering as if caught in a ghostly wind. Others claim she wanders the paths around the falls, her gaze distant, searching for something or someone she'll never find. Her sorrow is palpable, an oppressive weight that settles on your chest, making it hard to breathe. You feel her despair like a physical force, pulling you toward the edge, urging you to understand the depths of her loss. Then, just when you think the moment will pass, she turns. Her eyes meet yours, and in that instant, you see it all. Her hope, her love, her final moment of despair. The water roars louder, as if it knows what's coming. You try to look away, but the pull is too strong. She steps closer, and the ground beneath your feet feels like it might give way. You realize, with a cold jolt, that her story isn't over, and now it's entwined with yours. This is the White Lady of Montmorency Falls, a ghost bound by love, shattered by loss, and eternally searching. And if you see her, be warned. She might just take you with her. The stone walls of Rosenberg Castle hold centuries of secrets, but none more chilling than the specter of Perchta of Rosenberg. The wind howls through ancient corridors, carrying whispers that scratch at your ears. The air here feels heavy, oppressive, as if soaked in memories too painful to let go. And in the heart of it all, she waits. The White Lady of the Czech Republic, bound to the place where love turned to cruelty. Perchta was once a young noblewoman, promised in marriage to Jan of Liechtenstein, a union meant to unite powerful families. But instead of a life of honor, she found herself trapped in a living nightmare. Behind closed doors, Jan's cruelty knew no bounds. Perchta's letters to her father and brothers were filled with desperate pleas, describing torment that cut deeper than any blade. But the letters went unanswered, her cries for help swallowed by silence. Her life became a prison, and her spirit began to fracture. As death came for Jan, he sought her forgiveness, a final grasp at salvation. But Perchta, drained of hope and warmth, turned away. With his dying breath, he cursed her. A curse so heavy it chained her spirit to this world. After death, she returned, not as the woman who once wrote letters, but as a ghost with eyes like empty wells and a presence that chills to the marrow. Visitors to the castle speak of fleeting glimpses, a flash of white disappearing into darkened hallways, the soft rustle of fabric with no one in sight. Some have seen her more clearly, standing at the edge of their vision, her gaze cold and relentless. Those who dare to follow find themselves lost, the castle's twisting corridors stretching longer, darker, until all sense of direction is gone. Her story is inescapable here, woven into every stone, every shadow. You feel her before you see her, a sudden drop in temperature, breath turning to mist. Then she's there, silent, watching. Her face is pale, framed by darkness, and her expression holds centuries of pain. Does she seek revenge? Redemption? Or is she trapped in the cruel irony of being forever bound to the place that brought her so much misery? The White Lady of Rosenberg walks her endless path, and those who cross it become part of her story. A story written in grief, betrayal, and a curse that time itself cannot break. The air around Germany's Plassenburg Castle carries an unnatural chill, as if the centuries-old stones themselves remember what happened here. Step inside, and the walls seem to close in, shadows deepening with every breath. It's in these halls that she walks, a figure cloaked in white, her presence a warning and a curse. She is Kunigunda of Orlamunda, a white lady whose story is soaked in blood and betrayal. She was a countess driven by ambition and twisted love. To win the heart of Albert of Nuremberg, she believed she had to remove the obstacles in her way, her own children. The details are a blur of horror, whispered in dark corners. A mother's hand stained with the lives she was meant to protect. But Albert turned away, repulsed by her crime. Betrayed by her own delusion, Kunigunda sought refuge in a convent, but no amount of penance could cleanse her soul. Death came as a reprieve, but it was only the beginning of her torment. For centuries, Kunigunda's spectral form has appeared before tragedy strikes, an omen of death, wrapped in ghostly white. Her sightings are marked by a drop in temperature, the air growing thick and suffocating. Some have felt the brush of her icy touch, a fleeting moment that leaves a mark far deeper than skin. Others hear soft weeping echoing through the corridors, a sound that fills their ears and hearts with dread. The Berliner Schloss holds its own spectral prisoner. Anna Sidu, the lover of Elector Joachim II, imprisoned after his death, she was left to rot within cold stone walls, betrayed by the very man who promised her protection. Now, her ghost wanders the halls, her figure blending with the shadows. Witnesses speak of her eyes, dark pools of sorrow that seem to see straight into your soul, weighing every secret and sin. In the stillness, you can almost feel their stories seeping into the stone. The White Ladies of Germany are more than ghosts. They are echoes of rage and heartbreak, bound to places stained by cruelty. As you walk the halls they haunt, every creak of the floorboards and every flicker of candlelight is a reminder. These spirits are watching, waiting, and they never forget. When you leave, if you can, their presence will linger in the cold you carry with you, a chill that warns of the past's grip on the present and the price of betrayal. The wind rustles through the ancient trees of the Busket Gardens, carrying with it whispers of old secrets and unfulfilled vows. At the heart of this darkened grove stands Verdala Palace, its stone walls heavy with centuries of history and regret. Here, under the cover of moonlight, the White Lady walks, a spectral bride with a tragic tale etched into every breath of cold air that surrounds her. She was the niece of Grand Master de Rohan, promised to a man she did not love. Her cries for freedom went unanswered, her pleas falling like stones into a silent abyss. As the wedding day approached, the weight of her fate pressed down, suffocating, unyielding. On the eve of her wedding, she made her choice. Clad in her wedding gown, she stepped from the palace balcony into the void. The ground rose to meet her, and silence followed. But that silence did not last. Now, on nights when the moon hangs low and the air feels too still, she returns. Pale as the mist that clings to the gardens, she moves through the halls of Verdala Palace, her gown trailing behind her like a memory that refuses to fade. Those who have seen her speak of an overwhelming sadness, a chill that seeps into the bones. She appears at the annual August moon ball, her presence a fleeting shadow among the living, her gaze fixed on something or someone only she can see. But this is not the only place she haunts. In Mendina, another White Lady wanders the narrow streets, her story steeped in betrayal and blood. Forced into a loveless union, she found solace in the arms of another. When their secret was discovered, it ended in violence. Now she roams after dark, her form flickering in and out of the shadows. To children, she is a gentle whisper, a comforting presence. But to heartbroken young men, she is temptation incarnate, a lure into darkness, an invitation to join her eternal sorrow. Why do they return, these women in white? What binds them to the places where their lives unraveled? The answers lie in the darkness they carry, the grief that holds them in its grip. They are not just ghosts, they are echoes of choices made and paths that cannot be undone. In Malta, the White Lady is more than a tragic story. She is a reminder of the power of defiance, of the cost of betrayal, and of the shadows that linger long after life has ended. The moors of the Netherlands stretch endlessly under a blanket of mist, the air thick with the scent of damp earth and forgotten memories. Here, where the ground itself seems to sigh with old secrets, the White Lady appears. They call her the Witte Wieven. Wise women, ghosts, witches. It depends on whom you ask, but all agree. To see her is to feel the weight of something ancient and unforgiving. The mist swirls, forming shapes that seem to move with a will of their own. From within this shifting haze, she steps forward, clad in white, her eyes glimmering with an otherworldly light. Some say she is a protector, a guardian of the land. Others whisper of her darker side, a force that punishes those who cross her. The truth lies somewhere in between, as elusive as the fog that clings to her form. There is a tale from the Schinveldse Bossen forest, a story of fire, betrayal, and a restless spirit. Centuries ago, a castle farm burned to the ground, taking with it the daughter of a nobleman. The flames consumed everything, leaving only ashes and echoes of pain. Now, on nights when the wind carries the scent of smoke, she walks the forest paths. Witnesses speak of seeing her, eyes blazing with a light that mirrors the fire that took her life, her gown fluttering as if caught in an unseen blaze. Some say she seeks justice. Others believe she simply relives the moment of her death, over and over. The Vitavivan are more than ghosts. They are bound to the tumuli and moors, to ancient places where the past and present blur. Travelers who stumble upon them speak of sudden chills, of whispers that dance just beyond hearing. The mist thickens, and for a heartbeat the world feels wrong, as if the ground beneath you is shifting. If you are wise, you will tread carefully, for to disrespect the Vitavivan is to invite their wrath, a curse that lingers long after you've left the moors behind. There are stories of kindness too, of spirits that guide the lost and aid the suffering. But even these tales are tinged with unease, for the line between benevolence and malevolence is as thin as the mist itself. Approach with reverence, they say, and you may leave unharmed. But cross them and the mist will close around you, suffocating, eternal. In the Netherlands, the White Lady is a paradox, protector and punisher, guide and judge. She is the embodiment of all that we fear in the dark, a reminder that some forces are beyond our understanding and beyond our control. The night air is thick on Balete Drive. The ancient trees, their twisted roots clawing at the earth, form an archway of shadows. The street lamps flicker, their dim light barely piercing the gloom, and somewhere in the darkness, she waits. They call her the White Lady of Balete Drive, a ghost whose presence is felt long before she is seen. Taxi drivers whisper her name with a mix of fear and reverence. It's always the same story. A late-night passenger, cloaked in white, hails a ride. Her long, dark hair obscures her face, but her silence is heavy, suffocating. The cab moves forward, the city's chaos falling away, replaced by an oppressive stillness. Then, as if pulled by an unseen force, the driver glances in the rearview mirror. Her face, blood-streaked hollow eyes that hold 1,000 unspoken screams. And in the blink of an eye, she vanishes, leaving only cold air and the echo of terror. Who was she? Some say she was a young woman, brutally murdered and discarded on this very road. Others claim she was a victim of a hit-and-run, left to die alone beneath the Balete trees. Whatever the truth, her spirit lingers, trapped in the moment of her death. The air around Balete Drive is heavy with it, an unseen weight that makes every breath a struggle. Those who dare to walk this path after dark speak of sudden chills, the feeling of eyes watching from every shadow. Cars stall without warning, their engines silenced by something unseen. And then there are the footsteps, soft, deliberate, pacing just behind you. Turn around and there's nothing but darkness, but if you linger too long, you might catch a glimpse. A flash of white disappearing into the trees, a low, mournful wail carried by the wind. The White Lady of Balete Drive is not just a ghost story. She is a reminder of violence and loss, of lives cut short and justice denied. She walks the road as both victim and warning, a symbol of how the past refuses to stay buried. So if you find yourself alone on this haunted stretch of road, keep your eyes forward and your thoughts steady, because once you see her, you'll never be able to forget. And if you dare to meet her gaze, well, some stories say you may never leave. In the ruins of Ruelbo Castle, where stones crumble and time hangs heavy, there is a stillness that feels alive. The air is sharp and cold, laced with the scent of wet earth and decay. It's the kind of place that makes you shiver, even when you tell yourself there's nothing there. But then you hear it, a low, anguished wail carried on the wind. She's here, the White Lady of Switzerland. Her story seeps through the cracks in the ancient walls. They say she was betrayed, left to suffer alone in the depths of this crumbling fortress. Was it a lover's treachery or a family's cruel ambition? The truth is lost, buried beneath centuries of whispered tales and forgotten sorrows. But her presence remains, palpable and oppressive. like a shadow that never leaves. Visitors who dare to tread these grounds have seen her, a ghostly figure draped in white, gliding silently over the moss-covered stones. She appears when the air grows still, her form barely more than a flicker in the corner of your eye. Some say she relives her final moments, pacing the halls in an endless loop of despair. Others claim she reaches out, seeking someone to share her pain, someone to carry the burden of her betrayal. On Christmas Eve, when the veil between worlds is said to thin, her haunting grows stronger. The ruins seem to come alive, the stones whispering secrets in a language no living soul can understand. Those who have encountered her speak of a cold that cuts deeper than winter's bite, of a feeling that something, someone, is watching, waiting. Her eyes, when they meet yours, hold a depth of sorrow that cannot be described. It is a gaze that pulls you in, unraveling every fear you've ever buried. For a moment you see her story, a life torn apart, a soul left to wander. But then, she is gone, leaving only the echo of her despair behind. What does she want? Redemption? Revenge? Or simply someone to bear witness to her endless suffering? Whatever it is, the White Lady of Rolbo Castle will not rest until it is found. And for those who cross her path, the memory of her presence lingers, a cold touch that never truly fades. If you ever find yourself in the shadow of those ruins, remember, the past is never truly dead. It waits, it watches, and sometimes it reaches out. The moors of Northumberland stretch under a sky painted in shades of ash and bone, where the wind howls with a voice of its own. At the heart of this desolation stands Blenkinsop Castle, its walls scarred by time and secrets that refuse to die. In these halls she stirs, a pale wraith clad in white, her story tangled in betrayal and the cold stone that binds her. She is the White Lady of Blenkinsop, and those who see her rarely leave unchanged. It is said she appears to the desperate, the treasure seekers and the restless souls who dare to challenge fate. A boy once claimed she came to him, her eyes hollow and pleading, urging him to uncover hidden riches. But when fear overtook him, she grew wild, her form flickering like a candle caught in a gale. For 3 nights her apparition returned, her cries growing sharper, more anguished. The walls themselves seemed to echo her despair, trapping all who listened in a web of dread. To the east, on the winding roads of East Yorkshire, another White Lady runs. They call her the Running Lady of Beeford Strait, a specter who dashes across the road in a blur of pale fabric and raw terror. Drivers swerve, hearts pounding, as she vanishes into thin air. No one knows her name or the tragedy that drives her, but each encounter leaves a mark, a memory that gnaws at the edges of sanity long after the headlights fade. Then there is the White Lady of Worstead Church in Norfolk, her presence tied to the pews where prayers mix with unspoken fears. On a Christmas Eve long ago, a photograph captured more than it should have. A spectral woman seated behind an unsuspecting visitor, her form faint but unmistakable. Locals whisper that she brings healing to the faithful, or serves as a harbinger of death. Those who have felt her gaze describe it as a weight pressing down, a warning that time is slipping through their fingers. Across the United Kingdom, the White Lady walks, a ghost, a guardian, a curse. She is the embodiment of sorrow that cannot be silenced and of warnings etched in shadow and stone. Whether she is seeking redemption, offering mercy, or exacting vengeance, one truth remains. When you see her, you are not alone. The past stands beside you, cold and unyielding, and it never truly lets go. So if you find yourself in her presence, tread carefully. Her stories are many, but her purpose is hers alone. And once you have seen the White Lady, you will carry her with you. Always. The waters of White Rock Lake lie still, their dark surface betraying nothing. But those who drive its winding roads at night know better. The air grows heavy, thick with the scent of rain-soaked earth and decay. And then she appears, a woman in white, her gown clinging to her form as if she has just risen from the depths. She is soaked through, her eyes hollow and searching. This is the Lady of White Rock Lake, and her story begins with a scream lost to the water. They say she flags down drivers, her voice soft, almost desperate. She needs a ride home. Her movements are slow, her gaze distant, as if trapped in a memory that will not let go. But the moment the car pulls away, the atmosphere changes. The air turns frigid, and an unnatural silence descends. When the driver dares to look back, she is gone, leaving nothing but a cold, wet imprint on the seat, and a chill that burrows deep into their soul. To the east, in Rochester, New York, the trees of Durand Eastman Park stand like sentinels, guarding secrets older than memory. Here, the lady in the lake walks. Her daughter vanished, and the world failed her. Now she searches endlessly, her figure a blur of white against the mist. Those who see her say she emerges from the water, her form shrouded and spectral, her cries echoing with a pain that never fades. Walk too close, and you might feel her icy touch, a reminder that justice has not been served and her search is far from over. On Pennsylvania's Susquehanna Road, the legend takes a darker turn. The Susquehanna Screamer, they call her, a bride whose life ended beneath the steel rails of an old railroad bridge. Some say she took her own life. Others whisper of a far more sinister fate. Honk 3 times at midnight and her scream will tear through the night, a sound that lingers in your bones long after your breath has returned. In Connecticut, the White Lady of Union Cemetery drifts among the headstones, a pale specter glowing faintly in the dark. Her face is hidden, her movements eerily smooth. Witnesses describe her presence as suffocating, a chill that wraps around the heart and refuses to let go. She is seen often, but understood rarely. A spirit whose sorrow is etched into the very ground she haunts. From Texas to Pennsylvania, the White Lady's story changes, yet it remains the same. A tale of loss and vengeance, love and betrayal. Each apparition is a reflection of a past that refuses to stay buried, a reminder that even in death, some wounds never heal. So if you find yourself on a lonely road or near a quiet lake where the mist clings too tightly, remember, the White Lady walks among us, and sometimes she's searching for more than just a ride home. The stories linger, like a chill that refuses to lift even after the dawn breaks. Across continents and generations, the White Lady walks, a phantom born of heartbreak, betrayal, and the shadows that we dare not confront. But she is more than legend. She is a reminder of the past's grip, its cold fingers reaching into the present, twisting through every whispered tale, every creaking floorboard, every flicker in the dark. The air feels heavier now, doesn't it? Like something unseen is listening, watching. The White Lady isn't bound by borders or time. Her sorrow echoes in the stones of ancient castles, drifts along lonely roads, and slips through the cracks of forgotten ruins. She is there in the sudden drop in temperature, in the chill that raises goosebumps on your skin without warning. She haunts not just places but moments, each one a thread in a tapestry of pain that can never be unraveled. You might think you're safe, that these are just stories. But ask those who have met her gaze, those who have heard the soft rustle of a gown when no one is there. They will tell you, she is as real as the fear that quickens your heartbeat in the dead of night. Her presence is a question that never stops asking. What binds her here? What keeps her soul tethered to the living, unable to rest? And more chilling still, could it happen to you? Could the weight of your own regrets, your own betrayals, turn you into a shadow that refuses to fade? So as you leave this tale behind, keep your eyes open. The next time you feel a chill or catch a flicker of white at the edge of your vision, remember, she might be there, watching, waiting, because the past never truly dies. It haunts, it lingers, and sometimes it follows. If these stories have unsettled you, share your thoughts below. And if you're brave enough to venture deeper into the unknown, like, subscribe, and join us again. Because darkness has many layers, and the White Lady is only the beginning.